on how do you use all of that in the opening statement. Now look, folks, when I speak, I usually speak criminal defense places, and I love being the prosecutor just for a moment. They usually have good facts, right? And what if I was going to use the storytelling techniques as a prosecutor? Well, how would I use it? Let me show you what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had been at Main and Travis on August the 15th, 2008, right across the street, you'll see Mulberry Apartments. Door 116 is open. Miss Smith is walking up to that door, and she slowly opens the door. She's worried because she hasn't seen her sister. They were supposed to meet 2 hours ago, and her sister is never late. She walks through the room, and you see it clean, spotless as usual. But as she gets to the kitchen, there's a red arc of blood on the wall. And on the floor is her sister. And her head is sliced open like a watermelon. And she screams. And she screams. And she screams. And then she didn't stop screaming until she heard the noise in the hallway. For in the hallway, when she heard the noise, she remembered her niece and nephew who were always making noise. She went and opened the door, and her niece was bending down with her knees down like this, with her hand over her brother's mouth, and she said, "That man is going to get us. That man is going to get us. That man is going to get us." 2 weeks later, the police officers had a lineup, and they put several men and make them walk to the middle of a line, and they'd walk back. Walk to the middle of the line, and they'd walk back. And when the man in the number 3 spot walked to the middle of the line and walked back, the little girl said, "That man is going to get us. That man is going to get us." And ladies and gentlemen, that man is in this room. And he's sitting right over here. And I'd sit down. And I'd sit down. And you know why, unless the criminal defense lawyer was a master storyteller, that case is over with. You know why it's over with? Because let me show you something. Even if the young girl comes to court and says, "That's not the guy sitting there, it was another guy," you know what the jury's gonna say? "That's all right, baby, we got him." We got him. He ain't going nowhere. But you know why? Can anybody yell out, why is it the jury is going to convict no matter what the evidence says? Can anybody tell me? Because they've lived it themselves. I knew from the start that I wanted to create fear in the room. The jury doesn't care what the little girl felt. They've lived it themselves. They felt the fear. They're going to make a decision based upon what they felt. That's the power of a storyteller. Unless someone can counteract that, a storyteller can have people doing things subconsciously with no thought. I'm watching my watch because I got something I want to show you guys. All right, how deep can stories get? Folks, let me just tell you something real quick. Stan Snyder's in here backward somewhere. Stan, you back here, Stan, way in the back. Stan Snyder and I went to Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College together in 2000. You know, and we walked in as a black guy and a Jewish guy going to a class together. We came out brothers. I didn't know I could have a Jewish brother, but I do have a Jewish brother. We came out brothers. You know why? Because the course taught me something, that I could stand before people and become human. The most important part of a jury selection, jury argument, is to always remind the audience that this is a human being here. And how do you do that? By acting like this is a human being here in this room with me. How deep can stories get? How many of you have ever been to the VA hospital? Let me see your hands. Any of them. We're going to go to the one in Houston, folks, in 1984, and it's about 7 p.m. Let's walk in together. We walk through the front door. There's an elevator. We take that elevator. We're going to go to the 9th floor. We're going to go, once we get off the 9th floor, down the hallway, there's an immaculately polished floor, and there's a lady walking toward us in a white outfit. We walk to the door, and there's not a door, there's a sheet. Pull that sheet open, and there's an old man lying on his stomach with his legs crossed. He's having difficulty breathing. It's like he has asthma. I don't know about you folks, but you know, when I was a little boy, my dad took me to school the first day. I bet if I asked you, your mom took you. Not me, my dad took me. And I tried to play baseball, and I tried to play it. I was no good at it, but I hit a single once, and I wanted to turn it into a double, and I ran and slid on that second line base and tore my knee up pretty bad. My dad was out there before anybody can get me. He just picked me up like this. He was a big man, just as big as I am now, and took me off the field. Late at night, I had a bad case of asthma as a young boy. My dad, on Saturday nights, would come in and put that Vicks Vapor Rub on my chest, and I could breathe better. My dad. If I had some Vicks Vapor Rub, I'd like to put it on his chest tonight. Yeah, that's my dad. I'm a grown man, and I've never told my dad I loved him. But I'm going to do it tonight. But before I could walk up to him, the nurse came up to me and said, Mr. Buncroft, you need to leave because your father needs his rest. Come back early in the morning. And I promised myself that I'd be there early the next morning. But at about 4:30 the next morning, the telephone began to ring, and it rang. And it rang. Now, if you listen to the room, you hear a silence in a room full of lawyers, almost 1,000 of you guys. That's the deepest silence you probably ever heard. And it's because you left the room. You went internally. And the power of a storyteller can reach back to the last person in the room, way back there where Mario is sitting, and touch Mario. Storyteller. One of the greatest storytellers I've ever heard was a civil lawyer, folks. Wasn't a criminal lawyer, civil lawyer. Representing a young man who had both arms cut off in some horrible accident. And let me tell you what his final argument was like. When the jury went to lunch, they were going to come back and make arguments after. He said, ladies and gentlemen, you all went to lunch. I passed by and saw you eating in certain restaurants, and you were all having a good time. When I went to lunch with my client, He doesn't eat like you. Both hands.